A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, Link's Awakening, The Minish Cap, all the top-down Zelda games. They're bona fide classics and they all deserve to be, but Nintendo doesn't seem like they're going to be very eager to give us that many more of those games in that style. But luckily, indie games have really stepped up and just offered a bounty of options to play if you want to play games that are just like the top-down classic Zelda games. And typically each with their own unique take on what it means to be a top-down ARPG, I guess. The genre is a little weird. I don't know if action RPG actually applies perfectly to what a Zelda game is, but regardless, you know it when you see it. So in this video, I'm going to go over a bunch of awesome top-down adventure Zelda-like games, and hopefully by doing so, you'll find something here that you might have not otherwise heard of. First, I'm going to go through the stuff that is out, and then I'm going to have a little section at the end for things that are going to be coming out in the future. Let's just hop right into it here with the first one, which is Master Key. If I were to do a simple pitch for Master Key, I'd say it's basically what Gato Roboto was to Metroid, but to Zelda. Basically, it's a 1-bit monochrome top-down adventure game, but this one here leans a lot on the secrets in the dungeons. This one you'll know if you're really into it just by a frame of it, basically. That one I think is really cool, so make sure you check that one out if you're into super minimalistic looking games like this. Next one up is Shogunaria. This one is a Japan-themed Zelda-like. It's kind of neat to see a more historical setting for one of these kind of games, and this is a pretty unique take on it because you also play as 4 different characters. So that one's really neat, especially if you're into Japanese aesthetic. So that one's really cool. The next one up is Tower, spelled TWWWR, so make sure you search for the right game. This one's actually a really short, like 1 hour long, it's super cheap game, but it's about you ascending a tower. You're not going to have like melee combat really here. It's more of a kind of a dual stick shootery thing. It also has platforming in it that you typically don't have in a game like this, but I still think it qualifies for this video because of its perspective and it's basically its whole vibe. It's a short game, so you really have nothing really to lose. It doesn't cost you that much. This is a really cool one. Make sure you check out Tower. All right, now we have Prodigal, which is a kind of Game Boy Color looking game. I really like when games do this thing where it has stats and useful information on the side of a non 16:9 game. I think that's a really smart thing that I see a lot of indie games doing now. I really like that, so that's worth a shout out there. But in Prodigal, it's basically a story-rich, action-adventure game like, we're talking about here. The whole world is very vibrant and has a lot of monsters and puzzles and dungeons and everything, but it also has kind of like a side questy dating sim element to it. So I think that's like a really unique spin on this sort of game. Basically, if you're into like a Zelda-like game, you're gonna not be disappointed, but also there's a little something here to add some more depth to it if you're looking for a dating sim element in a game like this. So I think that's a really neat one right there. Next one up is Hunt the Night. This one is really, really, really cool. It's basically a Castlevania take on a Zelda game. Kind of like the original Legacy of Kain game, but more of a Link to the Past kind of vibe. Also, a really cool thing about the gameplay is that it's like so fast. You're kind of darting all over the map. It's really, really neat. There's really challenging bosses. You can like customize your build a lot. So if you're into like Legacy of Kain, the original, and Zelda, I think you really should check out Hunt the Night. Then we got Arietta of Spirits, which is kind of like I don't want to call it melodramatic, but it's kind of a more deeper sort of emotional take, indie game take on Zelda. It's basically what you're looking for. It's a Link to the Past with more of a deep emotional through line to it. Next one here is one that's actually getting a lot of buzz, and that is Minishoot Adventures. At first glance, it's a top-down shooter, and, I'm typically turned off by most top-down shooters, but this one's actually a Zelda game. The whole structure of it is getting upgrades and power-ups to unlock different levels. The boss battles embrace the bullet hell nature of a shooter. This game actually gives me a lot of Isaac vibes because, the bullet hell nature of it, but definitely check that one out. That one is pretty much beloved by everyone who plays it, so no-brainer for 2024. All right, and then the last game I'm going to mention that's actually already out is Nobody Saves the World. This game actually comes from the Guacamelee developers, Drinkbox, and it's a Zelda game where you play as this nobody who can transform into many different forms. and each form has their own function and ability that will allow you to do the puzzle solving that you would expect. This one also has a co-op option to it too, so make sure you check out Nobody Saves the World. If you want to play a game that gives you so many different characters and abilities to play with, check that one out. First game that is not out yet that I want to shout out is Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. This one is a top-down Zelda-like where you use a yo-yo as your main mechanic. In this game, you play as a little bat who is trying to reinstate his family's mob cred on the streets. It's really unique looking. It has a kind of WarioWare attitude and vibe to it. And it's also really cool to see a game that's like this set in a city. So make sure you wishlist that one. I think that one is going to be a really big hit when it comes out. Then we got Castaway, which looks like it's actually coming out pretty soon, but not quite sure when. The dev seems to be hinting at that on Twitter. It's actually the dev of Lunark, which was kind of a send-up of another game series, which was out of this world, cinematic platformer kind of games. But now they're taking on a more smaller scale Link's Awakening tribute. And this one looks really, really awesome. But basically, it just looks like a super polished version of what you'd want out of a Link's Awakening kind of tribute. And it seems like it's going to be relatively small and compact, so I'm really looking forward to Castaway. Next one I want to make sure you're aware of is Veritus, which is actually from the devs of Prodigal. It has the same kind of Game Boy Color look to it, but this time they're taking on a Castlevania vibe. There's a lot of Castlevania-inspired games in this genre for some reason, but I'm all for it. I'm really interested in seeing how this game turns out because I love some gothic horror mixed in with my Zelda games, I guess now. So, alright, then we got Questmaster, which is pretty much the Zelda maker you've always begged Nintendo to make, but they haven't made yet. It looks incredible. It has a really faithful looking art style to Zelda while still differentiating itself enough to be legally distinct. They're adding multiplayer to it, so it would be really fun to craft a whole dungeon and then send your friends into it, almost like a D&D like experience, but with Zelda. That's incredible sounding to me. But also, it has a whole single player campaign to it eventually, because it's going to be launching into early access here pretty soon. And one of their later goals to get to is to put in a whole single player storyline. But yeah, you'll be able to explore other people's dungeons and worlds that they make here with this Questmaster game, and I can't wait for it. I think it looks really, really impressive. Then there's Last Moon, which is another Zelda-like game, but I think the thing that really pops right out at you when you see footage of this one is its painterly, hazy art style to it. It has this almost dreamlike feel. I'm really into it. I think it looks really cool, and apparently a lot of other people do because it has quite a lot of wish lists on Steam. But this is another one you should keep an eye on. It looks pretty neat. All right, and then the last one I want to bring up is the most obvious one. It's the one that's most hyped up. It's the one that everyone's probably looking forward to the most, and that is Mina The Hollower. Zelda, Castlevania, Mole Mania. If you don't know Mole Mania, it's a Game Boy game where you solve a lot of puzzles by going underground. It's a really unique system, and this looks like that mixed with Zelda, and I am incredibly excited for it. Everything that they've shown from this game looks incredible, and it's supposed to be out at the end of this year, hopefully. This one, I'm so excited for it. I know this is going to be a massive slam dunk hit when it comes out, so if you haven't heard of it somehow, make sure you wishlist Mina The Hollower. Alright, and that was my video on top-down Zelda games. I really hope you liked it. This is one of my favorite genres, and I really like to dig through Steam and find new ones, so if you have any recommendations for games like this that I didn't mention here, make sure you mention it in the comments. Let me know about it. I really genuinely would like to know about more. Also, I might have mentioned something in my last video about Zelda. This is a kind of loose follow-up to that one. So if you haven't checked out my first Zelda video, check that one out. I definitely talk about a lot of really cool top-down Zelda games, especially a lot of retro ones in that one. So check that one out there. Also, yeah, do all the YouTube-y stuff. Subscribe, that'd be awesome. I really, really genuinely appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. My voice is still terrible. Gosh. Ooh. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.